It is great to welcome to the program today Congressman Ritchie Torres, who has represented New York's 15th congressional district in the Bronx since 2021. He's on the House Financial Services Committee, also the Select Committee on Strategic Competition between the U.S. and China. You've spoken about your struggles with mental health over the years, and this is an important issue to me, not just because so much of my family works in mental health, but because it is an area that has a stigma attached to it. It's an area that I don't believe is properly dealt with by the insurance plans, health insurance plans that most people have in different ways and for different reasons. And also because to the extent that some in the Republican Party pay lip service to the idea of this as an issue, whether it's as it conveniently relates to firearms or in other ways, there doesn't seem to be a big enthusiasm from your Republican colleagues to really do what needs to be done in terms of funding and destigmatizing what's going on with mental health. So can you talk a little bit about, it can be broad or it can be narrow, the sorts of things you'd like to see done on the issue of mental health?
Well, I agree with you that Republicans only seem to bring up mental health in an attempt to distract away from the epidemic of gun violence. For me, mental health is core to who I am. More than 15 years ago, I actually was at the lowest point in my life. I had dropped out of college, found myself struggling with depression, abusing substances. I even attempted suicide and underwent hospitalization because I felt as if the world around me had collapsed.
Mm.
And 7 years later, I rebuilt my life and became the youngest elected official in New York City, in America's largest city. And today I'm a United States congressman. And I often tell people, I would not be in Congress. I would not be alive were it not for the power of mental health care and the impact it had in saving my life. And so I'm a huge proponent of expanding access to mental health care. In the Bronx, I secured about $8 million to expand the largest network of school-based health centers in the United States. Because I had asked, when I was in high school beginning to struggle with depression, I had no vocabulary for what I was experiencing. I thought I was experiencing a failure of willpower.
Right.
I thought the problem was me. And, I went to a chronically under-resourced school that had no psychologists, no social workers, no psychiatrists. And so I often ask myself, if I had had access to a school-based mental health center, to on-site psychologists and psychiatrists, then maybe all the crises that followed would have been prevented.
There's the kind of resource and funding and access side. I'm also curious your thoughts on the cultural side to this, because there's a lot of cultural stuff wrapped up in the idea of mental health struggles being indicative of a sort of constitutional weakness that a broken arm maybe does not have attached to it. In some jobs or professions, seeking out that type of care comes with the question of, can you really handle this job in a way that a sprained ankle or diabetes doesn't? So what do you think needs to happen culturally?
Look, I have set out to change the culture surrounding mental health in America. I tell my story in the hopes of breaking the silence and shame and stigma that often surrounds the subject of mental health. And I tell people that mental illness like depression is not a failure of character or willpower. It is a disease that has to be managed with treatment, with care, with a combination of medication management and psychotherapy. Blaming someone for depression is like blaming someone for the inability to generate insulin. And so I do feel like there's growing awareness that is breaking the stigma of mental health.
Yes.
A few months ago, I was one of four members of Congress who participated in an interview with ABC. We were all sharing our struggles with mental health. And I said, the fact that all of us are speaking so openly is a sign of how far we've come. But the fact that it's only four members of Congress out of 535, it shows that we have a distance to travel before achieving a society that truly embraces mental health. And it's more important than ever because I feel that the isolation of COVID-19 and social media have been complete catastrophes for the mental health of the next generation.
Yeah, and statistically, there's more than just three of your colleagues that are or have struggled with this
No
stuff. I
question.
mean, it just, no question about it. We've been speaking with Democratic Congressman Ritchie Torres, representing New York's 15th congressional district. Congressman, I really appreciate your time today, and keep up the great work.
Absolutely. Take care.